When writing the Alpha Gamma Delta history book in 1931, founder Georgia Dickover described the fraternity's international conventions with these words: "Those who have attended many conventions know that there is no time when our hearts beat faster or when we realize more deeply the unity of our far-flung sisterhood than at convention. From first to last, the same spirit of friendship, enthusiasm, and loyal service is revealed in all our conventions." Though more than 75 years have passed since Georgia first shared her sentiment, its meaning continues to ring true every time we gather for international convention. Convention has been and remains the hallmark fraternity event, a time when sisters from across the globe gather to celebrate our accomplishments, our growth, and our sisterhood. The fraternity's first convention was called to order by founder Georgia Dickover on Thursday, April 30th, 1907 at the Alpha Chapter House in Syracuse, New York. 27 attendees, including 7 delegates from the 3 different chapters, opened this historic event by joining in song to the tune of the Alpha Gamma Delta Girl. Much excitement and anticipation was present at this inaugural event, which was the result of more than a year of preparation and planning. The first convention marked the blossoming of Alpha Gamma Delta into a truly national organization, as Alpha Chapter gave up all constitutional power and authority over the other chapters, and national officers were elected. Delegates approved the structure of national officers and ratified the Constitution. The attendees also listened attentively as founder Emily Butterfield and fellow Alpha Chapter sister Mabel Bell presented a design for the Alpha Gamma Delta armorial bearings. The design and its meaning, as well as the initiation ritual as written by the founders, were then formally adopted for the fraternity. Understanding the importance of balancing business with pleasure, these Alpha Gams made time for fun and sisterhood at a regatta on Lake Onondaga, a convention banquet, and even a drag ride through the city and campus. The next 2 years following this gathering saw continual growth for the fraternity, as evidenced in the second convention in April 1909, held once again at the Alpha Chapter House in Syracuse, where the number of delegates grew to 13 women representing 9 chapters. President Jenny Titus presided over the delegates, who approved action to apply for membership in the National Panhellenic Congress, a significant move for this ambitious group of sisters. Another major milestone was the establishment of the Alpha Gamma Delta Quarterly, which has since been published continuously following its first issue in fall 1909. Discussion was also held regarding the fraternity's colors, with green being the only color in question, but the delegates opted to keep all 3. Conventions in the following decade succeeded in laying the foundation for a number of fundamental fraternity elements. The 1913 convention saw the establishment of a National Chapter Visitation Committee, the precursor to the current Leadership Consultant Program. A treasured event, the Feast of Roses, was held for the first time at Convention 1915. Georgia noted that no one there will ever forget the thunderstorm during the banquet, nor the trip in party frocks and shoes along the rain-soaked paths to the cottages afterward. Convention 1919 established Alpha Gamma Delta as the first Greek organization to adopt a national philanthropic focus. Delegates at Convention 1921 formally adopted the Alpha Gamma Delta purpose and held the first honors of Epsilon Pi ceremony. Initially, the fraternity hosted 2 different kinds of conventions: National Convention, which was held every other year, and Province Conventions, which were held in the years in between. These province conventions served primarily as opportunities for sisters to meet one another and cultivate a greater sense of sisterhood, and attendees enjoyed initiation services and Feast of Roses over the weekend-long gatherings. In 1927, it was decided that the province conventions would be rolled into national conventions due to the great expense involved. Conventions have served as the perfect venues for celebrating milestones in the fraternity's growth over the years. The 25th anniversary of Alpha Gamma Delta was appropriately celebrated by the Homecoming Convention held in Syracuse in 1929. A familiar name was present at this gathering, as Dr. Herbert G. Coddington, son of the late Dr. Wellesley P. Coddington, gave an inspiring address on service. The climax of the week was the banquet for Miss Alpha Gamma Delta's birthday party. Alpha Chapter performed a clever rendition of the fraternity's founding, and the entire atmosphere was said to make everyone want to be present when Alpha Gamma Delta celebrated the rest of its birthdays. 5 founders attended this convention. 7 founders were present at the historic 50th anniversary convention in Quebec, Canada in 1954, which was the last time this many founders were together. These founders shared in the pleasure of celebrating the fact that in 50 years, their enthusiastic group of 11 young women had grown into an international organization of nearly 26,500 members in 63 chapters and more than 100 alumni groups. On the evening of her installation as Grand President, Lulu Good Vogelsang closed her speech at the Feast of Roses with the following words: "In the next 50 years, Alpha Gamma Delta can be a steadying force, a spiritual force. We of Alpha Gamma Delta lift our lamps before the golden door of opportunity given to us tonight, and with triumph, courage, promise, and purpose go forth to face tomorrow." That golden door of opportunity was indeed opened as the fraternity continued to grow over the next 50 years, culminating with its centennial celebration at Convention 2004 in Chicago, Illinois. Over 100 years, more than 145,000 sisters and 180 chapters had been added to the Alpha Gamma Delta Circle of Sisterhood. This convention seamlessly fused the fraternity's timeless history and bright future into one grand celebration as more than 1,000 sisters from across the globe gathered for 4 days of festivities, fraternity business, and sisterhood. As the world around it continued to evolve and change, so did the nature of the fraternity's conventions. Flipping through photos dating from the very first convention to today, the fashions and styles of each era quickly became evident. From hairstyles to clothing, Alpha Gams have always been quick to model the trends of the day when joining at convention. As the world increasingly moved from a formal realm to a more casual one, the shift was mirrored in the change in convention attire over the years. Though Alpha Gams still dress to impress at our more modern gatherings, early conventions saw our sisters dressed to the nines. Attendees to the 1915 convention in Minneapolis were instructed to pack a practical skirt and middies or some other camp garb, a white frock for initiation, a formal banquet gown, a formal afternoon frock, tennis and swimming togs, and provisions for both a sweltering day and a rainy day. Convention 2004 gave sisters an even greater idea of the evolving styles over the years as Alpha Gams modeled fashions from 1904 to 2004 in a fashion show presented by the Alpha Gamma Delta Foundation. In the days before transcontinental flights and complex interstate highway systems, several fraternity conventions featured convention specials, which were organized train trips of Alpha Gams that crisscrossed the country, picking up members and offering unique opportunities for sisterhood and sightseeing. Sisters traveling to Minneapolis in 1915 were thrilled to learn that a private Pullman car was reserved for those taking the train, while the 1925 convention in Seattle used an entire train called the Chapter House on Wheels to transport delegates and visitors from the east to the west. The fraternity's history notes that in 1931, Alpha Gams were in high spirits when they arrived at convention after a 5-day train trip from Chicago to Pasadena aboard the Santa Fe Convention Special, which stopped for sightseeing along the way. Though most memories of convention are overwhelmingly positive, these joyful gatherings were not immune to external factors like war and poverty. The global effects of a world at war were responsible for the cancellation of convention in 1917, and again during World War II in 1943 and 1945. Sisters were urged to save money during the Depression in lieu of Convention 1933, and in 1951, uncertainty and strife surrounding the conflict in Korea led to the cancellation of that year's convention. Looking back on the innumerable changes that have taken place in society and the world as a whole since Alpha Gamma Delta's first convention in 1907, it is remarkable to consider the lasting prominence of the fraternity's conventions over the years. Though virtually everything around it has changed, the core meaning of convention remains the same, just as the fraternity's ideals and purpose continue to ring true more than 100 years after our founding. Alpha Gamma Delta has grown beyond our founders' most vivid imaginations, but despite the exponential number of members and the steady addition of chapters and clubs, Alpha Gams continue to be united by our common goals, ideals, and visions for the future. One of the definitions of convention reads, an assembly of persons met for a common purpose. May Alpha Gams of all ages, backgrounds, and beliefs continue to gather under our common purpose for many years to come.